here to be able to see our next set of starters. James Piccoli. Now this is a good rider, definitely the leader of Elevate KHS climbing wise, not necessarily completely team wise in all the races, but for this race James Piccoli is going to be a rider that is good.
Piccoli is a Canadian. I think that is the stat for
yeah, he's not Romanian. Vetkov.
Yeah, that's going to be for Sergei Vetkov coming up after him, as we're down to our final 5 starters here with Piccoli, Vetkov, and trains here in the United States, based in Colorado.
Vetkov 3rd overall here at Tour of Utah in 2017, and so he can climb with the best of them, and he can time trial with the best of them, and he's your pick, isn't he, Brad?
He was my pick today.
Your pick today to be able to see if Sergei Vetkov can pull this off, as James Piccoli, as we go back to, as he's out on course. Piccoli, we talked about being on fire this year. This year won the overall at San Dimas, won the overall at Gila. He was 2nd overall at Tour de Beauce. We talked, was 2 minutes down in the final classification on Sepp Kuss. That's a massive gap, because if you go back the year before, Gavin Mannion was only 22 seconds back.
The biggest gap in the GC that we've ever had here at Tour of Utah. With
but before you take that final turn to be able to get out of the saddle to sprint towards the finish line,
this is going to be a new fast time for James Piccoli, or pretty close to it, as he'll make that final little left-hand bend. Remember, 8:43 the time to beat. Piccoli looking like he could do it today for the Elevate KHS team. And he will. A new leader at Tour of Utah with an 8:37 for James Piccoli. The Canadian moves into the hot seat.
What a ride by James Piccoli from Elevate KHS. Lawson Craddock saying props. Knows that is a good ride. Talking miles, James Piccoli really, I got to say, upsetting everybody, taking the win at 8:37.
Did it by 5 seconds over Lawson Craddock, 6 seconds over Sergei Vetkov, and then down to 11 seconds ahead of Kyle Murphy. So when you're talking about just over a 5-kilometer climb, winning a day like this by over 5 seconds over a guy like Lawson Craddock is a great sign for James Piccoli. This is a guy that I know you and I have been watching here in North America for a long time, wondering when this guy's going to get his shot, when he's going to get his break. Well, here's another big win for him at Tour of Utah.
Yeah, and a big win for Elevate KHS, and they've kind of been on fire. They've been continuing to perform, rising up to the standards, really, right? They're taking on bigger races, taking on bigger events, and performing well. But for the Canadian Piccoli, this is the biggest win, winning the Tour of Utah, or winning a stage of the Tour.
Rounds out the top 10 today.
That's a great ride by Travis McCabe, absolutely. But all eyes on James Piccoli, the winner of the prologue of the 2019 Tour of Utah, the Canadian, demonstrating really good climbing ability and time trialing ability. I've known him more as just a good climber, not so much as a time trialist, but I put together the whole package today.
Well, Tour of Utah, a very special race for James Piccoli, our new leader here in 2019. Remember, back in 2017, Piccoli was just a couple weeks away from retiring as a cyclist. Elevate KHS put him on the roster to come race here at Tour of Utah. He got a result, and that kept him going. But Piccoli was very close to ending his career. So to come back here to Tour of Utah and coming in with confidence. I saw a quote from him earlier in a Velo News article. He said, "I want to win the Tour of Utah. I'm here to win the Tour of Utah. I'm here to go World Tour," and he wants to race in the Tour de France. So certainly off to a good start this year, 2019.
Yeah, he's proved it. He's definitely shown himself, and he's shown that he's capable of what he just did today. Now he's got to be able to back it up. We talked about the good results that he's had a little bit earlier this year and last year. So he's been building, actually been building up to this moment, and hopefully he's going to be able to have a good ride.
The canyon open for a half hour to vehicle traffic to get up, but they were able to get that clear for the 2019 Tour of Utah. Here's the first yellow jersey of this year's edition, James Piccoli, and how sweet it is for the man who made his ambitions very clear in 2019 and his goals for the Tour of Utah. He wants to win the overall, and he's certainly off to a good start in yellow after the prologue. Piccoli not going to have a whole lot of time to soak it all in here in the yellow jersey, because it is right back to work for him tomorrow.
Yeah, starting tomorrow, 12:30, as Piccoli is going to be able to You know, toast a little bit of champagne tonight. Can't drink too much with the elevation, though. That'll hit you right away. And he's got to be extremely excited. I wonder if he surprised himself at how well he went and how much time, like how close the gaps. Because if you look at second, third, fourth, fifth, I mean, it's all relatively close, but he had a 5-second gap on Lawson Craddock. I mean, a pretty impressive kind of gap on his finish time over second place. And so I wonder if he's a little bit surprised or if he really had the form and the confidence. I wonder if he thought he could win this.
He knew he could win today. Absolutely. And the confidence is a big part of the new James Piccoli. The confidence is what's driving James Piccoli to where he's gotten today. Once you have that belief that you belong at the World Tour level, you start riding like you belong at the World Tour level.
You can definitely push yourself a little bit harder and suffer a little bit more. You talked about that glacier cutting through there. There's a good example of just ripping half of the mountain right off as it cut through. James coming.
So now coming back for first place on the stage. They present the yellow jersey first, and then the top 3 overall after that. Or top 3 on the day, I should say, after that.
Is he still wearing his cycling shoes?
I think so. I don't think he has podium shoes on.
He looks lean, right? I mean, he looks like toothpicks for legs. He looks fit. He looks skinny. Looks like he's going to be ready to tackle some of these big climbs coming up.
Piccoli was a late arrival to cycling. He only started riding in his 20s, which if you're trying to make it to the highest level of this sport, a lot of times you come into a lot of roadblocks as a rider who starts later in their career. Junior riders have the chance to go through those junior development programs. You get recognized as a U23 rider, maybe make it onto a U23 team. But Piccoli was really overlooked up in Canada. Didn't get any of those opportunities and really had to claw his way onto that Elevate KHS team.
And still relatively young, right? 27 years old. I mean, that's not exactly like you're over the hill. I mean, still on the upswing, I would say, as he continues to improve.
Piccoli gets a 1-year pass to ski up here at Snowbird as part of his win here. So I'm not sure if James skis or not, but hopefully we'll see him back here at Snowbird later this winter.
Earlier this year, remember Tour of Taiwan when Johnny Clark won that?
Sure.
At Tour of Taiwan, and he said that was his first win, which blew my mind. I couldn't believe that was his first win for Jonathan Clark. Piccoli was second overall at Tour of Taiwan there, so a little bit of a battle. Again, talked about a lot of these riders knowing each other very well, as Lawson Craddock getting awarded second on the stage from EF Education First. A good ride by him.
It'd be easy to be disappointed here, especially watching those last few guys come in, watching your win slip away in the final few riders.
You always want that win. Yeah, for sure you'd be disappointed. You can't let something like that slide away from you. And, you know, but at the same time, you could live with like the effort you gave, right? You couldn't have gone any faster without, you know, crashing or trying to be able to turn yourself inside out. That's exactly what all 3 of these riders did, as Sergei Vetkov now goes on to the 3rd spot on the podium.
Vetkov with Worthy Brewing, with a new sponsor for Tour of Utah this year, Floyd's Pro Cycling Team.
So Worthy out of Bend, Oregon. Also, didn't realize that.
A craft beer brewery up in Bend. Sergei Vetkov doesn't look like he's been sampling the goods a whole lot.
No.
So there you go, all your jerseys after the prologue today. And everyone will wear their jerseys tomorrow, save for Alameda. He'll be wearing the best young riders jersey, and they'll pass the most aggressive riders jersey on to the next one. So, Frankie, an incredible day here at the 2019 Larry H. Miller Tour of Utah. We certainly got America's toughest stage race off to a good start here at the prologue up at altitude at Snowbird Ski and Summer Resort. We saw some really impressive performances, but none better than the Canadian, James Piccoli. He will wear yellow heading into stage 1 tomorrow. So that's going to do it for our coverage of the prologue today. For Frankie Andreu, I'm Brad Sohner saying thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow for the Tour of Utah.